we're out here, back here with the 300 WSM. So when you left off, I had settled on, I think on camera, I had settled on 65.7 at, I still couldn't decide if it was 5 off or 50 off. I think 5 off was actually more consistent, which brings me to what I think you saw on camera. It had a couple vertical flyers, which I found to be because the barrel was getting really carboned really quick. So that's one issue with that Reloader 23, which I'm fairly new to it. The bench rest or F-class guys, the competition guys, I haven't really seen them complaining about that, but it was an issue. And even when the barrel was clean, I was getting horizontal flyers, not from the wind. So I tried H4350. It was a solid half-minute combination with the 215s, and no matter which primer I tried, it just wasn't going to meet my demands. So I came out here the other day. I didn't have time to run the camera, and did a ladder test with H4350, 210M primers, and 215 Bergers. And I found a node, a really good node at 2690 foot per second and 2730 foot per second, but I never hit pressure. So we're out here today. I'm going to see if I can hit pressure and see if there is another third node at the higher end. Unfortunately, we've got about a 5 to 10 mile an hour wind at 6 o'clock, and at this location I'm shooting at, that's going right up the hill. So it has a tendency to cause vertical. So this today is not going to be as good as yesterday's. Yesterday we had about the same wind, 5 to 10 from 3 o'clock, and we did have to play with. We did have some horizontal, and I had to continually tweak the vertical, or sorry, the horizontal on the scope turret. But we had some really tight vertical, and we had some groups that overlapped with consecutive powder charges, and they also had very small ES. So a lot of them were 0 for the same powder charge. So all of that I really like. And when I started this 300 WSM project, the last barrel and then this barrel, it wasn't really just to see if I could hit that mid 2900 like on that first barrel with the Reloader 26 and have accuracy. I really wanted to see more about the cartridge and how it would work, or how useful it would be to us as a hunting cartridge. And ultimately I did want to see how it would run with what most of the bench rest guys are using at 1,000 yards, which is 4350. So I was going to have to collect this data regardless. I just would have preferred that I had multiple options, like the 26 and the 23 reloaders, for more velocity. But velocity isn't really why I built this in the first place. If I wanted velocity, I would have gone with a 300 Win Mag, a 300 PRC, or my favorite, a 30 Nozzler. But in any case, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to put one sighter on there just to see what the wind is doing to the bullet down there. I've got a half-minute dialed to the left, and I've got it dialed up 16.75 MOA. We're at right at 800 yards, and we're going to see what this gets us. I would imagine that this will be in the vicinity of 2,800 foot per second. .2811. Okay, I'm gonna go see where that hit on the target, and we'll come back and actually start this mini ladder. Okay, that impacted vertically about where the last charge from yesterday did, and I'm going to go down a minute. because I don't want to sneak off the top of the target as we do these increasing powder charges. I'm also going to take out the wind dial. It looks like we have so it's probably between 5 and 6 o'clock wind up there. But, so we're going to go ahead and shoot 63.6, which is what that cider was, of H4350. We're going to go up in 3/10 increments. Now, definitely, I started clear down at like 60.5. Absolutely, with any powder, but especially Hodgdon powders, you cannot just take someone's data, because I've seen very gross adjustments required from lot to lot. So, and I think that's part of what we've got going on here, because we should have probably already hit pressure by now. But in any case, don't take my numbers and just go run with them. Start low and work up if you're gonna try this combination. Whoa. 2843. .2840. It's concerning that cold bore was 30 foot per second slower. We'll go mark the target and we'll keep going. Okay, that two-shot group looked good. The wind has switched from 6 o'clock to 5 o'clock, maybe even between 4 and 5. So I'm going to dial another minute to the right, because it's blowing it over to the left. So this will be 63.9. Again, do not run out there and just throw these charges in your rifle for lots of reasons. Number one, this is long throated. And number two, like I said, lot to lot consistency is not great for Hodgdon. They make some awesome powders. But lot to lot consistency is not a strong suit. .2824. .2844. So one of them was a little bit lower and the other one was right where the other ones were, the previous powder charge. We'll go mark that and keep going. All right, so those had a little bit more vertical, but still sub half minute by quite a, probably right at half minute, maybe a 3-inch, but it was vertical, which I don't like. But it's just everything I shoot with 4350, 210Ms, and 215s is shooting well. We just got to find a node where it's going to be consistent. So this is 64.2. .2845. .2845. I pulled that one probably a quarter minute to the right, or at least that's where it was when the shot broke. So I would expect to see a little bit of horizontal in those two shots. I do like that they're both .2845. I like that the previous couple charges were right in those .2840s. I'm not seeing any signs of pressure. A lot of times when you, in my experience, a lot of times when you level off like that, it's because you're getting close to pressure or at pressure. This is Norma brass, which has historically been fairly soft, but I'm not getting flatten primers or anything, so I don't think we have any pressure, but we'll go up there and mark those two. We'll just have to see what that one did. I do know that I was still on the little orange dot, but I was a little bit to the right when the shot broke. I must have just tweaked my shoulder pressure or something. All right, so that the one I did think I pulled to the right was off to the right. I didn't measure it. Probably closer to a half minute to the right, which some of could have been the wind, some of it could have been me, but I definitely pulled it to the right. Those impacted pretty much with the previous powder charge, but again, there's a little bit of vertical. Like I said, I wasn't going to be surprised if we had some vertical because of the wind blowing up this ravine. But in any case, I will have to test it again. I do like that the velocities are flatlining. That the last two shots were, I know it's only 2 shots, but they were the exact same velocity. So it's definitely something we'll need to look at. Go ahead and shoot these last two. Okay, 2858. So pretty much assure you whatever node there was right there at that 2840 is we're out of it. .2862. Still 0 signs of pressure. So like I said when we started this, I knew this was going to be an issue because of the tailwind blowing up. So I have lots of experience shooting here. I have lots of experience with different winds coming from. So this would be what we've got right now is a west-southwest wind. I've got experience with a north wind coming from the left, or even a northwest wind where it goes up that canyon as well. I've got tons of experience with it coming from the southeast, which is fairly rare, but it causes the same issue that we were having today. I don't like doing ladders here because of it, because it induces more vertical. Anytime you got a crosswind, you're gonna have to deal with aerodynamic jump, especially tailwinds where it's going both ways, because the aerodynamic jump's going to go up or down depending on whether it's coming from the left or the right. But when the wind is actually blowing up, I think it's easy to see that it's going to have an effect on vertical. So I'm definitely going to shoot this again, but there are nodes at 2690 foot per second, 2730 foot per second. We shot those yesterday. They were less than quarter MOA vertical. I would say a couple of them were actually 0 vertical, and the horizontal wasn't bad. We did have about a 5 to 10 mile an hour right to left wind yesterday, so it could affect that. I think what I'm going to do, both of those lower nodes were pretty wide. I'm probably going to stick with the 2730. We'll test it versus this node that we just found up here at 2840 to 2845 in the same conditions, and then I'll kind of favor one. I probably won't pick one right away just because I do want the velocity, but the reason why I built the WSM is for the accuracy and the wide tune window, and I have a feeling that the 2730 is going to outperform the 2845 that we just saw. Even though, like I said, I do think a lot of the vertical that we're seeing on the target, and I'll show you here in a minute, is coming from this tailwind. I'll have to prove it one way or another, but I have a feeling the 2730 foot per second node is going to be the one I end up running with. I wouldn't bet you any money just because I need to see it side by side, same conditions, before I make a decision. But I feel a lot better. This is not fouling. The tunes are wide. Almost all of the charges I shot would be something I think most people would accept. The points of impact shifts are relatively small when they do happen, but there are clear nodes, I think, on the paper at 800 yards to help point out where you should stay and where you should avoid. But this is definitely a combo that I think hunters should look at if you're willing to give up that velocity. Like I said, this is what the bench rest guys are using. A lot of the bench rest guys are using. So we'll look at the target, and this will be the vlog for today, and we'll go test them when I have time and conditions. It's going to be pretty nasty over the weekend, so it'll probably be at least a couple days before I can get out here and test. So stay tuned. All right, so here is the mini ladder today at 800 yards from 63.6. So we got the tallest one there was the cider. I went down a minute and then right a half a minute, and then we shot the other two 63.6s, and so there's definitely some horizontal in that group, and all three of them probably around a third of a minute. I haven't measured it. I didn't like the velocity jump from the cold bore to the other two, but we may look at that later. So then I made another adjustment, went a minute to the right, and then we shot 63.9. You can see them right there. Again, I didn't measure them, but I'm guessing that's just under half minute. And then we shot the 64.2 with no adjustments, and that one on the right is the one that I called. The other one was right where it probably should have been, and those average velocities were right in the 28-45. Like I said, we have a wind coming from my right going up. It's blowing up. I can see it in the the grass is blowing up, and I've got a scent checker powder that's, you can see it blowing up this ravine. Like I said, I've got plenty of experience with it anyways. And then we shot that 64.2, which ironically, even though the velocity jumped up 20 foot per second, it landed in the same point, which I see quite often. We've talked about that several times before. Most likely due to positive compensation, but without more testing, it's really hard to say. In any case, I'm going to go back, like I said, and look at 27 30 foot per second and 28 40 foot per second, and then make a final decision on which load I'm going to run. But I am going to run 4350. It is what I was looking for, outside of the fact that it's not giving me the speed demon velocities. And like I've said several times now, if I was really focused on the speed, I would have built this gun on a different cartridge. Stay tuned for the final load selection.